It's been a hot minute since I've visited the Vshojo situation, but Nousagi made a new video recently, so I'm curious to see what is to say about it. But let's see what's going on.
Vshojo came to be, they promised the impossible.
Talent first. I will own all of my content. We can do whatever the fuck we want. The contract was wonderful.
This is like back then? Hold on.
When Vshojo came to be, they promised the impossible.
Talent first. I will own all of my content. We can do whatever the fuck we want. The contract was
Oh, that's what Silverveil looked like back then.
wonderful. I'll be able to keep my character.
And yeah.
It was simply perfect. No rules, no idol culture,
Yeah.
and you keep your IP. Every alternative, even Hololive, always had a catch, something you had to sacrifice for
Yeah,
the support
Vshojo
and the
did
success that they
always
promised.
came off as
Vshojo
like
aimed to disrupt all of that.
the
And for at
ideal
least 5 years,
Vshojo,
that was exactly
VTuber
what
company.
happened. But alas, it seems like this promise, one that seemed too good to be true, turns out to be too good to be true indeed. Vshojo is dead. The very
Yeah.
idea and concept of it is dead. You already know the
8.5,
story.
what?
A company who seemed perfect, the dream agency every VTuber wanted to be part of and looked up to, the agency that threatened the likes of Hololive and Nijisanji. Now nothing but a bad memory that in hindsight, everyone should have smelled.
It's like a
was
year
rotten.
now.
And truthfully, a fair few always did. The question we gotta ask now is, why? But before we get right into it, this video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and Sakurako.
Yeah, when something
Japan's
sounds too good to
best
be
snack
true.
box.
So Tokyo Treat's theme this
That's
time
usually
is Osaka
red flag.
Snacktacular. Osaka is
Yeah, I
well
love
known
Tokyo
for
Treat.
its like snack culture. So let's just open these up and see what Osaka has to offer. Ooh. Oh, yep. Kit Kats. We have caramel Kit Kats over here.
Yeah, I did.
Always
I
a
did
banner.
its
We
subscription
always have
for
to do
1
our shit
month.
Here. What was the ones that we just took?
Like 2
Ooh,
years.
That looks really good.
2 years ago.
Look at that. Whereas Sakurako
was a nice experience.
is all about the heritage of Hiroshima. I wanna find what this physical item has.
I would like to do
time.
this again once
Sakurako
I
always has like something
get
every
more
single
money.
time. Apparently it's a gacha because it's 1 or 2 things that you'll get this month. Excuse me, let me just get it and oh, let's open up. And we have
Very
oh,
cute.
Shit, that's kind of fucking cool though. I want to try eating this like strawberry thing. I feel like this was apparently the highlight of what they have in this.
Yeah, this is definitely
in
worth
this
it
package.
if you're
So
an
let's just go right into
otaku
it.
or just a
Oh,
fan of
shit.
Japanese
Oops,
snacks.
oopsie daisy. There you go. Explodes in your mouth. Jesus Christ. This one also looks fucking good. I mean, truthfully, every single thing in here looks good. Look at this, okay? This looks fucking good. This looks really good. Every single one of these. Oh shit, they have lemon sours? And as per usual, they have like a booklet
wanna
for
try
for
lemon
culture
sours.
reasons. And you know, just in case you want to find information about the snacks that you just got, in case you're allergic to something, or if you're wondering what you just
Yeah.
ate. I do miss Japan, and I'd like to be able to
Yeah, I
visit
miss
again
Japan
someday,
too.
But I don't have the money or the time anymore these days. So this will have to do. You know, Japan comes to me instead of me going to Japan. Tokyo Treat and Sakurako is the boxes to go, bro. It insists upon itself. So click the link in the description and use my code for $5 off your first
Yeah.
box. Huge thanks again to them for
Nice.
sponsoring this video, and let's go back to it.
I did say we aren't going to summarize the entire history of Vshojo, but before we go into their downfall, we gotta talk about the original vision and talk about their brief history. Project Melody was a cam girl who decided to innovate as a VTuber. While other women would normally use their real bodies, Melody's gimmick was that she was an anime avatar. Yeah, it cost a bit of a fortune, but it was flexible.
A
and
bit of
new,
okay.
and
Let's see how
always
much
was
of
going
a
to be
bit
perfect.
is.
Avatar. Yeah, it cost a bit of a
most
fortune, but it
replayed.
was VTuber. While other women would normally use their real bodies, Melody's gimmick was that she was an anime avatar. Yeah, it cost a bit of a
Okay, a bit of okay. 300. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, wait a minute. The completed model, specialty Unity setup and features. Oh, okay. That's a bit. I mean, for Melody, yeah, that's a quite a bit.
fortune, but it was flexible
like chunk
and new,
change to
and
her.
always was going to be perfect. This gimmick landed her a very explosive first impression, earning a shit ton of money and even sparking up discussion to a point that commentary channels and mainstream news were picking up the story. This was back in 2020, where Hololive has not even hit the English market yet. At least, not that much. So the word VTuber wasn't adopted by the creators like them. Of course, a gimmick can only last so long. Just because she had numbers didn't mean she was going to go through the conventional success pipeline though. And this was because of her inherent content. Porn. Melody is at her core a sex worker. Her main content is porn, and because of that, her getting sponsors and getting properly monetized is going to be difficult. Technical issues also sort of get in the way a lot. This was when our guy, the Gunrun, came in and saw the opportunity to do something big. She reached out to Melody, offered technical and business support, and together with YouTuber Mountain Dew, they saw a gap in the market. Hololive in mid and late 2020 was growing, yes, but also experienced a lot of problems. Problems in relation to their inability to properly manage bad situations, the terrible 50% cut, the lack of IP ownership. And there were no big Western VTuber agencies too. If they could address these problems and have the first mover's advantage, they could create something that had the potential to rival Hololive. So together with Melody, they founded Vshojo. But they needed other talents for this. Who did they get? Only the biggest relevant English VTubers
Very
on Twitch,
cool art.
Nyanners, Ironmouse, and Treya Silverveil. The vision was extraordinarily simple, and they condensed it into one phrase: talents first. This phrase would become their key marketing buzzword because, to be fair, it is succinct and catchy. VTubing was becoming big, and Vshojo wanted to declare that VTubers can choose not to settle for Hololive and Nijisanji and their oppressive restrictions and bad 50% deals. Unironically, it was the perfect time, and I can genuinely believe the Gunrun and Mountain Dew started the agency with good intentions. They just wanted to help because they knew how bad things can be for a streamer. How much more so a VTuber who had to deal with more tech and was a newer frontier in streaming, something that brands might be a little too hesitant to support. It was for creators who wanted to stream safely, who wanted to receive the same sort of sponsorships and partnerships that any normal big streamer is able to get, all without having to give the company an inch. Zero cons, Kaysan said. But you see, not everyone bought the hype. Cracks appeared early. In late 2021, Nousagi released a video exposing doxers who were impersonating Vshojo management to scam and dox other Vshojo members and VTubers. Nux had been contacted by the scammers himself, and he went public to warn.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the whole Nuxtaku Vshojo situation, and that already kind of put a bad taste in my mouth with how you know, they treated Nux. Yeah, I feel bad. But from what I'm happy Nux is doing okay. And yeah, that was such a awkward time back then.
The community. Vshojo responded with approval at first, but because members didn't like what was happening, there was a humiliation for him. Backlash from several talent who accused Nux of endangering them by drawing more attention to the issue. The video was taken down,
Yeah,
and
management
Gunrun
was
eventually
involved with
issued a
that too.
statement, but the damage was done. And the reason I talk about this isn't to reopen old wounds or talk about the drama again, because retrospectively, it just seemed like a massive case of communication issues. But I'm talking about it to explain the industry reaction. Criticizing Vshojo afterwards, pointing out the cracks, speaking the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, I hate that. Like, I hate like you can't criticize a company without people jumping down your throat. Like, so stupid.
Had become taboo even before the incident, but much louder after. Any public doubt or negative coverage gets you immediately branded as an anti, or some sort of Puritan idol culture Hololive retard. And to be fair, there were many loud retards uncritically hating for the sake of it as well, to a point that
you become problematic or toxic
would get drowned out. Regardless, both were treated with the same defensiveness. I would know because I experienced backlash when I made videos talking about the company in a not so positive light back in early 2022 and 2023. And there's two reasons for that. The first reason is the typical VTuber behavior of being overly defensive for their favorite creators and going to hell and back for them. Any not so positive sentiment is slander, and any mistake is understandable. VTubers can do no wrong. The second reason is a bit more profound in my opinion, that being people wanted to believe in Vshojo's promise and pointing out the flaws despite their forced perfect image, pointing out their unique challenges and doubting how their business model works became a sort of cardinal sin. Public sentiment was all good and dandy, but underneath all of that, skeptical whispers already circulated in private. How does the company make money? Wouldn't the talents have no reason to be in the company if they reach a certain size? Do they?
I remember when Michi was talking about Vshojo that they only would take a small cut from like merch and stuff from talents, and the talents get to keep all of their money. But like with everything that that went on with the Niji Sanji drama, it sounded like a dream come true, especially compared with like how Niji Sanji treats their VTubers. So yeah, like back then we thought this was like the real deal. So yeah, it was such a huge disappointment to see all of that just, get flipped on its head.
Just Nepo hire? Is Vshojo even a real agency? Let me make something clear. People back then didn't necessarily hate Vshojo the company itself, but mostly hated Vshojo the culture. Because to many, Vshojo's culture appeared to mostly consist of toilet humor, bouncing tits, loud equals funny, and some talents appeared bitchy or catty, lacking in the professionalism and sanitation that was present in a typical VTuber
It's the type of thing that sells.
An example of this was when Vebe throws shade at Hololive for being a bad company while throwing a misinformed narrative, which she refused to publicly apologize for. Vebe also called Shy Lily a lesser copy of her when Lily just started out. Another example was Nyanners. During this point of time, Nyanners was also being hailed as a hypocrite, an antithesis to weeb culture because she denounced her previous audience and thinks lolly is pedophilia while having a lolly model and sexualizing herself. Paradoxically, the very unique problem that Vshojo had was that it was talents first. The actions of one
everybody forgot
reflects
about that.
everyone, unlike in a typical agency setting. They do not have traditional managers that are gonna tard wrangle a talent if said talent starts schizoing out or did or said some nasty shit. This is the natural effects of talents first. It means the agency cannot hold any talent accountable no matter what they do, because the moment they do this, it betrays their very principle. The curse, I hope your Oshi joins Vshojo, started existing during this time. Some people did not want their Oshis to be associated with what many people consider to be a bunch of bitches and degrade into an e-whore with a bad personality. That being said, just because some people did not like Vshojo, the culture, didn't mean there weren't any doubts about Vshojo, the company. From a structural point of view, a lot of it didn't really make sense. When Kei-san joined Vshojo, she revealed to the public a lot of interesting things. What we will highlight in this video was the fact that Vshojo doesn't take any of her streaming cuts, and implying that Vshojo only takes merch money. She said that there were absolutely no cons into joining Vshojo, only pros that the typical VTuber agency is able to provide. This does not make sense. There's no way there wasn't going to be any sort of trade-off. There's no way that if we apply this deal to other girls, Vshojo would be profitable. Because as massive as the girls are, Vshojo doesn't have the infrastructure or the methodology for this. Vshojo doesn't have standardized merch pipelines or schedules like what Hololive and Nijisanji has. No company-wide money-raising formats like their own stage concerts. And you're telling me that Vshojo only takes a cut from their merch and nothing else? Not only that. Why and how would a company choose to purchase and financially support an IP and asset they do not own or have no guarantees to? Or at least licensed? How is a compromise this massively geared in favor of the talents sustainable for any company? People rightfully questioned their business model, and right when this was happening, Vshojo answered how they had or could afford all of this. In March 2022, Vshojo raised $11 million from angel investors. Vshojo started stealing talents' money in late 2024, as this was the time Kei-san started reporting that they would have her money. So what could have possibly caused Gunrun and the company to waste $11 million
Why is Goku in the back?
in only 2 years? The most plausible explanation point to classic mismanagement under the Talents First banner. Biggest I'd assume is actually overhead costs for staff, but how much are they paying their staff members and themselves to bleed that kind of money? Generous payouts and onboarding costs for new talents also ate into them, especially Michi, Kuro, and Matara. Like, did we really need to do all of this just to debut a talent?
Poor Michi, Kuro, and Matara. I've seen everything that they went through, and damn.
Come on, man. Them spending ads on projects that wasn't even close to manifesting, effectively burning for no other reason than it looks good for PR reasons, also didn't help.
That never made sense at all. Like, yeah, why market to an audience that don't even speak English? That is so dumb.
Other events and concerts were greenlit without clear paths to profitability. Unproductive short-term hype was prioritized over long-term stability, and when additional funding rounds failed to materialize, the company began dipping into talent-generated funds, including charity money. And again, them doing this would have been fine if they had a plan to eventually become profitable, and this required future
Still
contracts to
3D
be
model
different,
looks really
IMO.
cool. Or
Vshojo
V-Roid model
themselves
looks
knew
really
this, and at a
cool.
certain point in time, they actually did something about it. And you know what happened? Total fucking chaos. When they did this, Nanas,
Yeah,
Silverveil,
remember
and
that
Veve
too.
left the company. The departure was said to be unrelated to the contracts, with Vshojo just not making any financial sense for the talent. This happened because this change in contract betrays their very principle, and it might not be enforceable if they don't own the IP. Their philosophy is starting to bite them in the ass. I started thinking that Vshojo needed to actually get new members to profit off of. I thought about it a lot, and I think their plan after this fiasco, even slightly, was to intentionally be uber generous to the talents now so they can monetize off of future talents and future projects. In essence, borrowing the clout and goodwill of their current members to profit off of the next ones. It's not a bad idea, provided of course you actually have new members and actually have a plan. Even if the company doesn't own the new talent's IP, at the very least, don't spend 10 grand on something on a single girl or actually think of a cool and effective advertisement without all of this. And I don't know, maybe take a bigger cut?
This is like my tip. Yeah, don't spend $10,000 on your VTuber model straight away. Like, start cheap and then grow from there. And then when you like make enough sustainable money to do bigger and better things, then do that afterwards. Yeah, you never want to start big on the first day. I think that's the more wise financial decision.
Compromise a little bit in the contracts. They are newer talent after all. And I said this a second time now, but they just didn't have any plans. Vshojo had no auditions and no grassroots members for 4 fucking years. They did have one audition, but it was largely a farce. The actual real audition had to be pushed heavily by Zintreya in 2024. Heck, Vshojo JP launched in 2022 and didn't really even have members until late 2024. Kason and Nazuna was alone in that branch for 2 years, and the company bought all these expensive ass ads and they did fuck all with it. The fact that they had a fake audition and nothing came out of their JP branch for 2 years told those paying attention one thing. Vshojo didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and if they had a plan, they didn't know how to navigate it in a way that stayed loyal to their original talent's first vision. The company had to keep delivering premium services without ever tightening the leash. Again, because tightening the leash would violate the very promise that attracted talents in the first place. And that's the problem. The business model was built for a perfect world where every talent stayed loyal, money kept flowing in, and goodwill was extended for its own sake. But we don't live in a perfect world. The moment real friction hit, the whole structure had nothing to fall back on. In the end, one scandal did not cause Vshojo to collapse. It collapsed because the concept itself was inherently unsustainable. Financially, it did not make sense. Structurally, it was hanging off of duct tape and wires. Let's talk about the warning signs real quick before we get into the collapse. Because truthfully, when these signs happened, a lot of people were not really paying attention. Myself included.
Yeah, of course they're
I want
not.
to reiterate that I believe Vshojo started off with actual good intentions. I truly believed that their entire goal was to change.
Because don't forget, you're not allowed to question anything, and the second you do, you'll be labeled as problematic, and you know, they'll basically consider you a stain in the VTubing sphere.
VTubing and shape how Western standards should go. You could tell me it was some sort of weird savior complex from the gun run and I'd believe you, but even then, to me, if it bred positive results and made people look forward to a good cause, then isn't it still a net positive? Because for a while, especially after the PR disaster that lost Nyanners, Vey, and Silvervale, Vshojo managed to bounce back in only a short few months. They debuted Henya, previously the beloved VTuber Pikami. Then they saved Matara, Kuro,
Yeah,
and
they did
Michi
save
from
Madara,
Nijisanji.
Kuro, and
These four
even
talents
Michi.
gassed up the company so much that the removal of the
and
other
yeah, in a
three
way-
started to get framed as a good thing. See, remember when I said people didn't necessarily hate Vshojo the company, but rather Vshojo the culture? Well, a lot of the source of that hate was actually because of the people.
Yeah, it felt okay to praise Vshojo at that time because we were still like recovering from the whole Nijisanji drama.
That left, particularly Nyanners and Veibei. They were sort of the bitches, I guess, that some people didn't like. So when they left the company, a very vocal few framed it as a good thing because the bad apples just got lobbed out of the bunch. And with the addition of these new four talents, that negativity was replaced with positivity. Vshojo finally solved the PR crisis that they were dealing with a long time now, and they also found a path to solve their financial and talent crises as well. Vshojo in 2023 became the enemy of all corpos, and that was a good thing. If an agency didn't treat their talents right, they were going to scoop them up, provided that they had decent clout and that were approved of by members. Even if they did not jumpstart a VTuber's career from zero, they still found a way to deal with the lack of new bloods. They seemingly embraced the fact that Vshojo was a Nepo retirement agency, an exclusive elite corpo that only a select few can join. All things considered, it's not a bad solution. Legit, God gave them a generational save, or at least the potential to. By doing this strategically, one can expect new fresh bloods every couple months or so because there's always gonna be a graduation from a big or medium corpo. And as long as Vshojo can give them slightly altered contracts that were better than Hololive and Nijisanji's anyway, to focus on being profitable, then in a couple more years I can genuinely expect Vshojo to stay afloat and make a lot of money. Alas, that was what could have happened.
I'm
By
sorry,
the time
the
they must have
Goku
thought
in the
of doing
back
this, it
takes
was
me
already too
out.
late. Because again, they ran out of money in 2 fucking years. But how much money, you might ask? Well, we later got leaks that they were losing a whopping $2.5 million a year. Brother, you had $11 million. Even if they were losing $2.5 million a year, from 2022 and 2024, they should have only lost $5 million if we were to take this at face value. Where did the other $6 million go?
Yeah, where'd it go?
Absolutely insane to me. Vshojo had the perfect opportunity to do fundraising streams to do cool things. Instead of funding Subway ads, they could have spent it on concerts. Instead of hosting orgy parties during con time, they could have spent it on assets or infrastructure. Instead of probably paying themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, they could have taken a slightly worse pay to fund actual projects. But no. Vshojo had to be the better agency. Vshojo had to be the savior of the industry. Have their cake and eat it too. So drunk they were of their own cocks and clout that they did not know how royally fucked they were until it was too late. Matara Khan parted ways in 2025. Founding staff member dipped. Giga followed.
I think that okay, so like when they let go of Madara, that was like the ticking time bomb. Okay. The seeds were already planted with the Nuxtaku thing. And then like things were starting to click in my head during Silvervale and Vebe, I believe. And then when they let go of Madara, especially again, everything that Madara, Kuro, and Michi all went through. And also Madara was the one that encouraged Michi to join Vshojo. And so the fact that she got let go, like shortly after that, that already was like that was smoke in the air for me. I already knew then and there, like Vshojo was like, okay, something's really going on, and that just put me off altogether.
As well, it looked like a gradually worsening situation until the nuke dropped in July 2025.
Yep, there we go.
Triggered by the one person the company
that was the
could least
bombshell
afford to lose, much less so receive a full-blown public condemnation from. In July 2025, Iron Mouse announced her departure, revealing that Vshojo had withheld her Twitch revenue and stole over $500,000 in charity money for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. She also then revealed that she was undergoing legal proceedings against them. Within days, everyone dipped. Literally fucking everyone. Kaysan did
Yeah, when you're so far in debt, like you just had to keep taking out loans after loan after loan after loan, and then eventually you had to, keep money from even your own talents to try to pay off what you owe, and it just all becomes one big mess, and at the end you just end up losing everything.
the stream of the Vshojo JP CEO, Fruit and Vshojo Nova got jump scared, Mountain Dew got outed as a Hololive slanderer and a sex pest potentially, and the gunrun pulled a worse Riku Tazumi.
Yeah,
You already
that
know
was the
story.
worst.
At least Riku had the balls to show himself on camera. What I'm interested in are the after effects and the depths of depravity of this goddamn agency. Talents like Zentreya, Amali, and Michi just found out that the company has not dealt with their merch
Yeah, they have no
productions
money,
and
so they
shipments.
can't
You know,
go
merch.
through with the
thing that the
merchandise.
company has the most apparent stake on, and they couldn't even be bothered to deal with that infrastructure. It wasn't just Zentreya and Michi too. Mint, as well, collabed with Vshojo
Yep.
for an entire merch release, but apparently she never got paid. This merch situation was so bad that Giga had to consistently push for updates and chase them to deal with the whole shenanigans. And apparently, they don't even keep proper logs and accounting of the company's own expenditures. It's like Vshojo did not want to make money. Giga later explained that she had advised Vshojo not to take in new members unless there was a profit plan, questioned their financial decisions, and even pushed for strategies and meetings where the company could profit. But she later explains that her actions and words gets lost as soon as it leaves her immediate manager. Matara had a heartbreaking development, where apparently
Yeah.
she stopped talking and being friends with a few Vshojo members after she saw the warning signs and tried to talk them into it. And that those members apparently chose the company over her and her friendship. No names were
Yeah.
specified, but I think we can hazard some guesses. The lost members of Vshojo was honestly the saddest, in my opinion. If they did debut under Vshojo, I believe the company would have benefited greatly from it. Even more so than Matara, Michi, and Henya. They were supposed to have 2 units to debut. One was the Monster Girl unit Beasties, featuring Jaden, Pia, Barry, and Tori. A unit that I think would have made waves, considering Jaden was to become their headliner.
Yeah.
And we can see from their debuts and their numbers that if this was to actually get transplanted into Vshojo, it would have exploded. The other was the idol unit that consisted of Victoria Roman, Phoebe, and led by Mint Fantome. It's sad, because this agency fractured friendships and promised more than any agency could realistically offer, and when they collapsed, they left the talents holding the bag and to mend what was broken. Vshojo failed because its business model was built on contradiction. It promised maximum freedom and reliable corporate support, but freedom without structure is chaos. Support without revenue is not a business, it's a charity. How do you even begin to find a middle ground that's sustainable while also making it worth considering for creators that can make more money than you? How do you tighten reins if doing so makes the dog you've spoiled so much bite you? Everything was built to fail. Maybe
Yeah.
if Vshojo just pivoted properly, handled their finances with even a modicum of common sense, they could have proved the skeptics wrong and did right by everyone, their talents, their fans, even their detractors. Vshojo proved that talents first sounds beautiful, but it does not exist. At least, not in the way that Vshojo portrayed it as. In the VTuber business, a bit of compromise is needed for both parties. Both has to give and take, not overwhelmingly skew towards one side. Freedom is only as strong as the infrastructure behind it, and Western VTubing learned this the hard way. I have no doubts that other companies or much wealthier individuals will have another go at it. Attempt to find that sweet spot between Vshojo and Hololive, and maybe they'll succeed.
Now, I'm surprised Nousagi didn't bring up the fact that Fruit raised money for charity and that money was never donated. Yeah, I don't think anyone should forget about that. It's like Parrot was the one that mentioned it in his video, but for some reason nobody else is bringing it up. I don't know why.
After all, the problem with Vshojo was always the sliding scale. Maybe one of them will find the correct setting in that sliding scale. Though that is only provided that they learn the lessons of this goddamn collapse. So
Oh,
be
no.
wary, O ye VTubers who are promised the world. Be wary of anyone or anything that promises you the honeycombed words that Vshojo does.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I figure it was just too good to be true. But all I can say is, Nuxtaku, you've been vindicated.